Hey y'all, welcome to the news break from thefishingwire.com. I'm so glad you're here because today we've got a show that covers everything from a $6 lure that might just be the smartest thing in your tackle box, all the way to 30 years of history that literally changed the sport of bass fishing as we know it. First up, Berkley took the humble inline spinner, the bait your granddaddy threw, and gave it something it's never had before: scent. The new Dough Rider packs a built-in PowerBait dough pocket right into the body of the lure. Flash, vibration, and smell all in one cast. Then Great Lakes Finesse has been quietly solving problems that other bait companies just accept. Their new Stay-Pinned Spybait has 3 hook points, including a patent-pending breakaway hook on top, because losing a giant bass to a thrown hook is not a personality trait we're willing to tolerate anymore. After that, Gary Yamamoto Custom Baits drops the Shibo Swimmer, a paddle tail swim bait that thumps harder and displaces more water than anything in its size class. We've got a Yamamoto pro breaking down exactly why this thing fishes differently, and trust me, he makes a compelling case. And then, y'all, we are closing this show with something really special. Z-Man Fishing Products just celebrated 30 years as a company, and to mark the occasion, they made a documentary about the chatterbait, about a father and son in a garage in Rock Hill, South Carolina, who invented a bait that created an entirely new category in bass fishing, and about the chain of events that followed, from Brian Thrift's legendary tournament win to the lure that helped build one of the most respected brands in the fishing industry. It's a great story, and we've got the people who lived it telling it themselves. All of that right now on the news break from thefishingwire.com. Let's get after it. Here we go. Okay, y'all, you know how Reese's didn't invent chocolate or peanut butter, but the second they put them together, it became its own kind of genius? Well, that's basically what Berkley just did with the Dough Rider. Inline spinners have been catching fish since your granddaddy was in short pants. Flash, vibration, spin, all day, every day. But here's what they never had: scent. And the scent is often the difference between a strike and a swing and a miss. Berkley fixed that with their built-in scent vent pocket loaded with PowerBait dough that releases a continuous scent trail while that blade keeps doing its thing. We're talking flash and smell like a neon sign that also smells like dinner. Available in sizes from 1/16 to 3/8 ounce. 10 colors, barrel or minnow profiles, and it comes with a trial pack of PowerBait dough. At $6.49, it's cheaper than your coffee habit and twice as satisfying. Listen, if you've ever watched a giant largemouth go full Cirque du Soleil on you, all aerial acrobatics and head shakes, and then spit your spybait back in your face like it was a bad first date, you know exactly the problem Great Lakes Finesse just solved. Most spybaits only give you 2 bottom-hanging trebles. Great Lakes Finesse said, "Baby, that's not enough," and they added a patent-pending breakaway hook on top. 3 points of contact on a jumping bass. Now that's how you stay in a relationship. But they didn't stop there. 3+ years of development went into getting the body shape, weighting, and that slow, seductive shimmy absolutely right. The water-through gill design enhances that shimmy and gives you actual feedback through the line, so you feel what the fish feels. It comes in 11 colors, armed with BKK Super Slide hooks at $17.99. It might be the most satisfying problem Great Lakes Finesse ever solved. Now, Gary Yamamoto Custom Baits has been making soft plastics that flat out catch fish for decades, and their new Shibo Swimmer is no exception. This paddle tail swim bait punches above its weight class with a harder thump, more water displacement, and a head wobble bass can feel coming from a distance. Works on a bladed jig, an Alabama rig, a ball head. Honestly, it just does its job. 3 sizes, 12 colors, classic Yamamoto formula, but don't take my word for it. I've got one of the Yamamoto pros here to break down exactly what makes the Shibo Swimmer different from everything else in the swim bait game.
That, my friends, is the Shibo Swimmer. All new from Yamamoto. It's based on the exact same shape as our popular scope shad, but it's got the perfect angle on the paddle tail, the perfect thickness, and always with Yamamoto, the perfect plastic. It is the best formula. It's soft, it swims, it gets bit. The all-new Shibo Swimmer from Yamamoto Baits.
Y'all, that right there is why pro staff exists, because nobody explains a bait better than the person who's been throwing it on real water. The Shibo Swimmer from Yamamoto. Go find it quick as you can. We're saving the best for last because this one isn't just a gear story. This is a fishing history story. And I don't use that word lightly. Think about the names that define modern bass fishing, like Brian Thrift and Seth Fighter, two of the most decorated tournament anglers of their generation. Now ask yourself, would their careers look the same without one single lure? I'm not sure they would, because sometimes one bait changes everything. That bait is the chatterbait. Z-Man Fishing Products just celebrated their 30th anniversary as a company. 30 years of innovation, 30 years of doing things the right way. And to mark the occasion, they've produced a documentary that tells the full story of how the chatterbait went from a garage in South Carolina to the most influential lure in modern bass fishing. Here's Z-Man President Daniel Nussbaum talking about the beginning, not with the bait, but with the company, and how Z-Man decided it was time to stop being the best kept secret in the industry.
I'm Daniel Nussbaum, president of Z-Man Fishing Products. Z-Man's an offshoot of a manufacturing company that was around in the 80s, and they had a silicone production line where they made silicone tape that was used for things like pipe insulation or the lining on brake pads. And there was a guy there who was a bass fisherman, and he said, hey, if we color this silicone tape, if we add glitter to it, slit it into strands, we can make silicone skirts. And that's where the very first silicone skirts came from. When that company was sold around 1995, Mr. Jerry Zucker, the owner of that company at the time, founded Z-Man Fishing Products. He took the 5 or 6 employees that were manufacturing skirts, bought them the equipment and the building that they needed, and that's where Z-Man was born.
Now, that's a man who knows his story and tells it well. So here's where it gets really interesting. While Z-Man was building out their consumer brand around a little something called Elastec, a proprietary thermoplastic elastomer that they say is tougher and more buoyant and more lifelike than any soft plastic on the market, something completely separate was happening about an hour up the road in Rock Hill, South Carolina. A father and son, Ron Davis Sr., a lifelong tinkerer with a real background in research and development, and his son, Ron Jr. They were messing around with a concept that was kind of like a spinner bait, but not. See, a spinner bait uses rotating blades for flash and vibration, but what Ron Sr. invented was different. A flat hex-shaped blade attached directly to the front of a jig head that didn't rotate. It jackhammered, violent, fast, erratic, and absolutely irresistible to bass. That was the chatterbait. Born in a garage, built by hand, and about to change everything. Here are Ron Sr. and Ron Jr. in their own words.
Well, if you take this little bait, which is a Walker Special, okay, that's a weighted blade with a hook. I knew early on, back in the late 50s, that was a very effective tool. And I wanted to get that vibration onto something that was a whole lot more effective than this. And it ended up being a weighted hook with a blade instead of a weighted blade with a hook. But it just evolved into that. There's certain things you kept fooling and fooling. We were at the Saluda River down here that feeds Lake Murray. And I was back in the back of the boat. He's up there running the boat, and I was throwing this little old bait. I was catching them. I said, what man are you fishing with? And that kind of got it started, I think. He said, dang, Dad, we can do something with that. You know, so he pushed me into saying, okay, let's try to put this thing on the market.
Y'all, a garage, rural South Carolina, a dad with a vision and a son who believed in it. That's the American dream with a hook in it. And here's the thing. Z-Man didn't just acquire the chatterbait and put it on a shelf. They stewarded it. They built on it. More than 20 purpose-built bladed jig designs later, the chatterbait jackhammer, developed with Japan's Evergreen International, became one of the most tournament-dominated lures ever made. This documentary tells all of it. The invention, the struggle, the breakthrough, Brian Thrift's win at Lake Okeechobee in 2006 that made the chatterbait a household name overnight, all of it. And it's beautifully done. I genuinely think every serious angler and everyone who works in this industry should watch it, because it's not just about a lure. It's about what happens when invention meets vision meets perfect timing. You can find the full documentary right now if you go to thefishingwire.com. And if this is the kind of story that gets your blood pumping, and honestly, how could it not? Then you need to be signed up for our weekly newsletter. New products, breaking industry news, the stories behind the brands you love. It's free, it's fast, and it's the best 5 minutes of your morning. Head on over to thefishingwire.com and sign up today. You'll wonder how you ever kept up without it, because we bring you the biggest news from the fishing business every single day of the week.